Hey guys, this is Amanda. So I'm going to give you a really quick demo on how to take photos of your art. So here you can see set up I have a piece of my own art that I want to take a nice photo so that I can post it online or make prints or something to that effect. I have a digital camera here. This is just a Canon EO 50 mirrorless camera. I would recommend if you have access to or know somebody that has, an actual digital camera, if you can use that, that is ideal versus, trying to use your cell phone. With that said, there are a lot of cell phones nowadays that can take really high quality pictures. I would say you would at least want something that can do 15 megapixels because you want to be able to capture all that amazing detail that you put into your painting. So you don't want something that's going to be really low quality. It's not really going to showcase it or pick up on all the colors and texture that you have. So here we have our camera. I just have it set up on the tripod for a moment, but I am going to take it off because you really want to be able to stand over your photo to get an accurate photo of the proportions. As you can see right now, because there's a slight angle, the painting is slightly skewed. So if I was going to use this photo, I'd probably have to do a lot of correcting in Photoshop to get the proportions back to what they should be. You want to try and get as straight on a shot as possible. That's the reason why it's also on the floor. It's a lot easier to get a nice photo of it when it's laying down on the floor versus if you had it hanging on the wall or on an easel. You're just not going to get the same overhead shot that we're looking for. You also want to make sure you have really good lighting. Trying to avoid glare if possible, and that's another reason why working on the floor is usually what works the best, works well. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take this off of our tripod here, and then you see my toesies in there. But we're going to go in and try and get out of my light here. I'm going to put on my strap here. And it's okay if you get your feet in there because we're going to be zooming in. And I kind of want to zoom in. Usually I would do this in the kind of portrait mode versus landscape for it, but for sake of for the video, I'm just going to keep it like this. But I'd be able to get more of the painting in. So if I turned it like this way, this would be more portrait mode. I could zoom in a lot more and then focus. I'm using manual focus for mine because I feel like I have a little bit more control over what I want in. So that would be how I'd usually do it. For the sake of this video, I'll keep it like this because it's still fairly high resolution that I'm going to get. So as you can see, I'm trying to get as level as possible, trying to avoid skewing the image. So if I keep it at an angle like this, you can see it starts to skew, so it's not directly overhead. I want to make sure that I'm not casting shadows on it or getting glare. I can see a little bit of glare towards the top of the image, so I'm kind of moving around trying to find the best way. Seems like this works fairly well. And then you would just take your photo, which it won't allow me to do because I'm in video, but that's essentially it. And I'll take a photo just for purposes to show you how I'm going to edit it afterwards. So I will meet you guys over at the editing station.
Hey guys, so it's me Amanda again. So here we have the photo that I took of my painting, and so I'm just going to show you a couple of editing tips for it. As you can see, I did get my little toesies in there, so we're going to crop those out. I'm using just Adobe Photoshop. I have as part of the Creative Suite. They offer a student discount. It's about 20 bucks a month to get like a ton of really cool Adobe programs. I'm not shilling for them. They're not paying me in any ways, but it is wonderful, value for what you're getting. That being said, if you don't want to spend the money on that, there are tons of free editing apps. You can get them just like in your browser if you do a Google search on them. There's also a great open source free program called GIMP that is pretty comparable to Photoshop. It has a lot of the same tools. and works in a very similar way. So that's a good one to check out if you are interested in getting something a little bit, more powerful than your standard free app. So here we have our photo. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this. For the most part, this turned out pretty well. It has a little bit of skew to it that I can see, so we're going to address that. But first, we're going to crop it. So I'm just going up here to my little crop tool. If I just select it, I can go in and I can zoom in to kind of make sure I'm getting as close to the edge as possible. And I'll show you a little bit about what I mean about skew. So as I'm going into my edges, if this was perfectly aligned, all the edges would line up. But you see how we have a little gap here on the side? That means that I have a little bit of skew. So that means the perspective is just a little bit off. And that happens no matter how much, you try and get the perfect shot overhead, you're probably going to end up with a small amount of skew. So the goal is just to get it as close as possible to your edges there. And then I'm just going to hit my little check mark, and that's going to crop it. And now to address the skew, I found for me the thing that works easiest is to use the perspective work tool. This might be called different things in different programs. It might just be called skew or transform. But again, it's just kind of adjusting it here. So first I'm going to select the whole image. And then for this tool in Photoshop, you click warp. And then it allows you to kind of pull and push it. So you see you have your canvas underneath here, and I want to make it kind of fit that with the best perspective as possible. So I'm just kind of adjusting the corners, trying to make it as if I'm seeing it straight on. So that looks pretty good to my eye. So I'm just going to click OK on that. And then I might come in and just crop it just a smidge more to get rid of any outlying borders. So maybe a little bit more off side here because I got a little bit of floor. Alright, so the goal is to just try and get as much of your original work in the image as possible because you spent time on this and you want to showcase it. And you also want to make sure that it's pleasing to the eye as well. You don't want something that's going to be completely skewed and it's not going to showcase your work in the way that you want it to. Another factor that comes into play when you're taking photos of your work is sometimes it can change the colors in a photo from what you actually see in real life. So this one, I feel like with my camera, it's fairly accurate to the colors, maybe a little bit duller than what I would see in real life. The big thing you want to remember is though that you don't want to do anything crazy to your image. You don't want to start adding effects that you're not actually going to see in person, especially if you're selling prints. It's just misrepresenting your art in that sense, unless you're doing digital art, in which case go crazy, do a lot of fun things. But if this is a painting that I want to sell a print of, I want the print to match as closely to the original as possible. In this case, I want to boost the color just slightly. I don't want to go too crazy, but for me, I found that just upping the saturation a smidge will probably do the trick. So I just added a little layer here to boost some saturation. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to go all the way to the other side of the spectrum, or you also don't want to like desaturate it to the point where you're not seeing anything. I'm just going to boost it up a couple, maybe 5 there. And that, to me, that looks like a pretty great representation of what I actually have in my art room. So I'm going to call it a day on this one, and, I'd save it. Save it as high quality resolution as you can, especially if you want to, print this out in the future or, just want people to view it. You want them to be able to zoom in and see all that amazing detail that you have, your brush strokes. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, I'd be more than happy to help you. If you want some tips on editing with Photoshop, I've done a lot of it, so can definitely help you out in that respect. I'll be available in, the Blackboard Collaborate live meetings, as well as if you want to email me and set up a private meeting, we can do that as well. I hope you guys are having fun, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.